Welcome back to Need for Speed Unbound. Over the past couple of weeks, we have seen a ton of really cool stuff about this game. Whether it be the cars, the crazy customization, the map looks really cool from everything we've seen so far. The Grand sounds awesome, and so on. I've made a bunch of videos about Need for Speed Unbound already, and if you've missed those, you can check them out at the link in the description down below. Long story short, though, I am super excited for Need for Speed Unbound. I can't wait to jump in and customize some cars, start up the Let's Play series, and play online with you guys, and we're gonna be doing that later this month as soon as the game comes out. I cannot wait. However, when I asked you guys in this video what you guys were most excited about and not so excited about for Need for Speed Unbound, you guys actually left some interesting comments. So today, we're compiling all of those, and we're talking about some potential problems we might have with Need for Speed Unbound. So let's start it off with the number one thing I've seen people talking about online, and one of my biggest worries for the new Need for Speed game, and that's the physics engine. However, let's be honest, the past couple of Need for Speed games haven't felt great to play. I don't think anybody's been booting up the game going, wow, I can't wait to drive this car because it feels so good. Yeah, literally no one's ever said that before. At the end of the day, though, Need for Speed at its core is a true arcade racing game, and it's never hidden the fact that it is that. Whether it be with mechanics like brake to drift, or the easiest way to drift, for example, is just usually spamming left and right on your thumbstick to go around the corner. Or when it comes to like the assists, for example, they're super simplified. Whether that be for the actual assists in the game or just the general driving mechanics, it is a true arcade racing game. The question is, though, do players nowadays still value those true arcade racing games? Especially when you consider the fact the past 10 years of racing games have pretty much been dominated by games like Forza Horizon, F1, The Crew 2 even, and if you take it a step further, even Grand Theft Auto 5. Obviously, all four of those games are very different in their own right. Some are more sim-focused, some are more arcadey-focused, but if you ask me, none of them are as arcadey as Need for Speed has been of recent. And is that necessarily a bad thing? Absolutely not. I think there's still a very big place for true arcade racing games that are accessible to everyone, can make people feel like a driving hero, and so on. However, where it might become a problem is where cars are doing things that they shouldn't necessarily do. If you ask me, regardless of whether it's uncontrollable understeer, constant wheel spinning, or just genuinely not having confidence in your car while you're driving it, that's when I feel like people can sometimes lose focus with these racing games and get a bad flack for their physics engine. And at least for me, that's what happened with the Need for Speed games recently. And it's a big, big problem because at the end of the day, the physics are the number one thing for any racing game. Regardless of how many cars it has, what type of cars, the customization, the map, story, so on and so forth, none of that matters. If the cars don't feel good, I just can't get into the game, and I feel like a bunch of you guys are the same. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think that's enough about the physics engine for right now, though. I really need to try the game myself before I jump to any conclusions. I'll save that for when the game actually comes out. Let's move it on to another rumor about Need for Speed Unbound, and that rumor is that Need for Speed Unbound will not feature drifting or drag racing event. This Tuesday, the developers are actually going to be giving us a new info drop all about the race events in Need for Speed Unbound. As soon as I get that information, I'm going to be making another video here for you guys, so subscribe if you want to see that. Long story short, though, if you're watching this video after Tuesday and the developers confirm that drag racing and drifting are in the game, please skip this section of the video. Anyways, though, the rumor as it stands right now is there is no drag racing or drifting events in Need for Speed Unbound, which is a massive letdown if it's true. Like, there's some incredible cars, both new and old, that I would love to use for drifting and drag racing, and the fact that I might not be able to is a massive letdown. Like, me, myself, I've always been a huge fan of drifting, whether it be like the cars themselves, the noises they make, or wrapping it around a tree as you're going down a mountain road. All of it's super, super fun. Or hitting up like a quarter-mile drag strip with some of your friends to see who's got the quickest car off the line. Always a super fun thing. And the fact that we might not get it in Need for Speed Unbound is just really disappointing. I seriously can't even imagine a game that could go to the lengths of getting like Bosuzoku cars with like the exhausts, the massive front chins, and so on, and doesn't have simple drifting events. It would be really weird. So hopefully future me is going, haha, he was wrong about the drifting and drag racing events, but the rumor right now is they're not in the game, and if they're not, I'm gonna be really disappointed about that. And you know what sucks even more about no drag racing and no drifting events? Is the fact that online is limited to only 4 players in free roam. The developers actually confirmed this a couple of weeks ago. You are only able to party up with 4 other players. You can still race online with 16 players, but you can only party up with 4. And that sucks. Honestly, nowadays, minimum an online lobby should be 12 players. And honestly, they should probably be even more than that. Like, think about it. When people are booting up their PC or their console to play games, they're majority of the time going to play with their friends. And the fact that Need for Speed thinks I only have 3 friends is 1, a bit rude, 2, correct, and 3, a bit sad. But I would still like more people. Like, think about this too. We've got all of this beautiful customization, this roster of cars that, if you ask me, is really, really nice, actually. And we won't be able to take any of those cars online with our friends and check them out with like a big old car show, or like in an open lobby and test them out with our friends and stuff like that in a public, open, free roam lobby. There's just nothing to say. It sucks. That shouldn't happen in 2022. Speaking of the customization of those cars, I actually got a ton of comments from you guys saying that you were worried about the customization in Need for Speed Unbound. And instantly I was like, what? Need for Speed Unbound? How can you be worried about the customization? But some of you guys were like, yeah, the cars they've shown might be really cool, like the Bosuzoku car, for example, or like those legendary builds. Those cars are awesome, or like the Mitsubishi Eclipse, for example. Those cars are awesome. But what about the cars they haven't shown? Are they going to be the exact same as Need for Speed Heat? Ooh, that is a good point. So the short answer is no, it's not going to be exactly the same. You've got a ton of different rims in Need for Speed Unbound, and you can remove bumpers off your cars. But the long answer is, ooh, that's a good point. Obviously, for right now, it's really hard to be able to look at all of the cars and go, is that a new wide body kit, or is that a slightly different rear wing? It's really hard to tell that. Again, we'll need to wait for the game to come out to actually figure out if they're the same or not, but you can, however, see some similarities between Heat and Unbound in some of the menus. The developers actually recently shared this GIF where they showed the exhaust tuning menu, and it's basically the same, just laid out a little bit different. And I know Need for Speed has always had awesome customization, so personally, this isn't so much a worry for me, but I know there's a lot of people out there who have been waiting for this game for a very long time and are hyped up by all the marketing Need for Speed's doing and are gonna be disappointed when this game comes out, regardless of how much customization's in the game, new or old. And that's kind of disappointing. I also briefly wanted to call out a couple of the comments I got on my previous video as well, specifically mentioning not being able to choose your time of day in the game. When you exit the garage, it's kind of just going to be random, whether it's day or night and so on, and you're not able to choose what time of day you actually want to play in, which totally understand. I always like those types of freedoms, choosing if it's day or night and so on and so forth, depending on what I want to do. So I get that one, not being able to choose time of day. And last but not least, the final thing that both you and I are worried about for Need for Speed Unbound, that is the post-launch support. And after what happened with Need for Speed Heat, I think it's a totally justified thing. That game only got 1 DLC pack, and then after that, it felt like the developers kind of abandoned the game. And I really don't want to see that happen to Need for Speed Unbound as well. And I mean, at the time of recording this video, the developers haven't confirmed any DLC, no car packs, no season pass. There's not even a confirmed battle pass for the game, which would have been super on brand for EA, let's be honest. Saying that though, the developers have committed to giving us free updates that include both content and experiences. But a lot of people are still on the fence because of what happened to Need for Speed Heat and it getting abandoned after only 1 update. The post-launch support for a game like Need for Speed Unbound is key, not just for success at launch and not just month after month, but year after year. People don't know how long this game's supposed to live. The developers are hopefully already planning on the next Need for Speed game, and post-launch support would make that transition period for Need for Speed fans a little bit smoother. So there you go. Those are the main problems we might see with Need for Speed Unbound and what has us worried, at least right now. Thank you so much for all of your comments. Come back Tuesday to find out if there are drag racing or drifting events in the game. I'll see you guys then. See you soon. Bye.